welcome to Izzy's Crafty Bees live on YouTube. I'm going to start because I usually go live on Facebook and I'm not sure whether my regular audience will just find me as easily as it's the first time live on YouTube. So, welcome to Izzy's Crafty Bees. My name's Izzy Shashinsky and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator here in the UK. I think I can see one viewer. It's very different for me because I'm used to Facebook Live and I can see usually on the screen in the top sort of right hand corner who is with me. So if you are there and you want to drop a comment and say hello, then that would be wonderful because comments are live, so that's great. So as I go through this live demonstration with you, I will from time to time glance at the screen and see if I can answer comments or join in with comments. Otherwise I will, oh hi Sylvia, thank you, you found me here, that's fantastic. I'm really looking forward to trying out YouTube and just seeing how it works in comparison to Facebook, so thanks for joining me, brilliant. So as I said, I just crack on as normal. So yeah, I'm here in the UK. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator and you can find me also on my other social media platforms such as Facebook and Instagram. If you just search for Izzy's Crafty Bees, and that's Izzy with S's, ISSYS, Izzy's Crafty Bees, you'll find me there. Lots of content including live demonstrations, videoed and stored live, and also uploads of photographs of projects and information about products that are available from Stampin' Up. So as I always do, I will just start my broadcast with just 3 of the golden moments for this week. So firstly, I had much earlier in the week, I had a beautiful handmade card delivered from a lovely lady who was just saying thank you for helping her out with a technical crafting question. She messaged me and asked me a technical crafting question and I answered it for her and she sent me a lovely thank you card. So that was just a golden moment. It was beautiful. I love to receive cards as well as make them. And the other golden moments really are Sunday was just fab because I went up to Skipton to see my mum, my brother, sister-in-law and the 2 kids. It's my brother's 40th birthday coming up and we won't be able to share it with him on the day because it's a work day. So I went to see him on Sunday and that was lovely, particularly fab because I got to squeeze my mum a lot, so that was nice. And my third golden moment was just a quick glance out of the window at my garden and I noticed that the patch of hellebores are all in flower and they've really come out in the last week, so that just really brightened my day today. So now I've shared that with you, let's get cracking. I'm going to flip my camera around now. Things are in slightly different places here on YouTube, so let me just pop my glasses on. So I'm going to flip my camera around and let's down on my workspace and let's just see what's in shot. So that's great. I'm also using a different camera stand today, and today I want to share with you some projects made using the wonderful layering mask set. So this is a set actually of 6 masks and I'm just going to lay them out on the desk here and I'm going to give you a very quick overview. So they're the butterflies and flowers layering masks and they're available online on my online store, or indeed new if you've got the catalogues in our January to June mini catalogue. And the item number is 158142. You get a set of 6 masks and they're £9.25. I'm going to show you a couple of projects, how to use them in a couple of different ways, and I've also got a couple of projects that I made earlier that I will just share, not demonstrate how I made them, but just share the finished article. So the set comprises of 3 masks that are designed to do backgrounds or add texture. So you can use the masks in a variety of different ways. You can blend ink through the masks, which is what I'm going to demonstrate today. You can use texture paste and a tool to give some texture to projects, and I'm going to share with you just a sample of what that looks like before we actually start making. You can use a sponge dauber, you can use blending brushes, you can use a variety of ways of actually pressing ink through the masks, and these three patterns create a really wonderful background and add backgrounds to your projects. I'm actually going to use this one today. Then the other two are where the butterflies and flowers really come in. And I want to just share with you first the butterfly mask. So you get this big open butterfly, and then you get this overlay of a detailed butterfly wing. And the idea is that you will blend your colour through the large open butterfly and then add the pattern to the open butterfly. You'll see this flower as well. And then the flowers are these beautiful designs which I'm going to use on one of the projects today, and I'll show you how to use them. And they come with these flowers, leaves that you can add, and some open flowers, and then you can use this flower to actually add detail to this big open flower here. So they really do layer up, as the description would suggest. You can use them to layer your designs. Now I want to come back to this butterfly, and just before we actually start and I start demonstrating, I just want to share with you this project. So this is a thank you card I made earlier in the week to send out to customers. I made a stack of these. So I used the large open butterfly to blend a lighter green ink, and then instead of using the butterfly wing stencil over the top to create a patterned effect on the actual butterfly, I used the flowers from this stencil. So I actually stenciled on some of this flower, and then some of these smaller flowers, as well, just to fill in. And to do that I had to leave the big butterfly in situ, and I used some masking tape to hold it steady while I positioned this stencil just over the top. So lots of different ways of using the stencils or the masks. So hopefully that just sharing and showing and telling about this project will give you extra ideas. Now I mentioned the backgrounds, and if I bring back this stencil, here's just a sample I created. So I haven't made a finished project, but here's a sample I created using the texture paste. So I actually pressed some of the texture paste through the mask using the broader palette knife and just scraped it through, and that's created this that I can use. If I hold it steady you'll be able to see the texture, and I can use this on a future project. I wanted to share that with you just today, just to give you an idea of other ways of using the stencils. So I'm going to just remove those out of the way, and we're going to focus on these three stencils just for these projects today. Now I'm going to start off with this bunting. I actually decided to do something a little bit different this week. Instead of making cards, which is a passion, I absolutely enjoy making cards, but I thought I would just do a piece of home decor, and what could be more simple than some pretty bunting. So I will show you how I actually did the stenciling work. So to do that I'm going to bring in a microfiber cloth just to pop to the side of my workspace, and one of our blending brushes. I'm going to use some different colour inks. So I'm going to use Night of Navy, which I'll be stamping these small flowers just to add a pop of a different shape, and a darker colour sometimes just makes the brighter colours pop out. I'm going to use two different shades of purple, Highland Heather and Rich Razzleberry, to create a flower, and I'm going to use some Granny Apple Green for the leaves. And I'm just going to share with you how I made just one of the pennants. So I'm not going to make any more. I've made 5 already, and I'm going to make a 6th pennant to add to my string of bunting. So it should be quite a I wouldn't say quick, but a reasonably quicker demonstration than perhaps we might have first thought. So I've got a couple of pieces of cardstock here, and I'll give you the measurements. If you just bear with me, I'll bring my ruler in. I'm going to take a seat now while I start to do the demonstrations. So glancing at comments, I don't work with a second screen, I always just use my camera. So my pennants are made with some basic white cardstock, 7.5 centimetres by 15 centimetres, and I'm using Misty Moonlight. You can use whatever colour you want to back your pennant, and that's 9 centimetres by 15 centimetres. So I need to just pop my contrasting colour to one side, and we're going to focus on the basic white piece as we use the masks. So the first mask I'm going to use is this one with the flowers. Now what we also need to be considering is in the mask. So it's worth, you don't want any ink to escape onto. So you can see I can tilt this mask to fit the flowers onto the area I want to work on. And you always start with these masks, you always start with the most open area. They are double-sided, and I don't really think it matters. One side feels slightly more matte and one side feels slightly more shiny. I don't really think it matters which side you use. I'm going to, just for today, I'm going to use the shiny side uppermost. Like I say, I really don't think it matters. Now, if I start blending and I accidentally go over, I'll get a nasty line here. So I want to think about masking this area. So I've got just some thick work decorating masking tape, and this is a piece I've already been using, and I want to make it's already low tack, but I want to make sure that it doesn't tear any of my paper. So what I tend to do is I pop it on whatever garments I'm wearing, a sleeve or a leg of a jean, and just let it pick up some of the fibres of my clothing. That reduces the tack more. So I'm actually going to mask this top area without masking the flowers. So I'm going to just use that there. I also want to mask these two smaller flowers because I don't want to get any ink. This one's okay at the moment, but it might not be once I move the mask, and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to cover these flowers with some more little pieces of masking tape. And it's unlikely I'll go over this edge, but I will just have another piece of masking tape right along the bottom, and you'll see why when we move the mask along. Let me just make sure. So it's really worth just taking your time, spending your time just masking these areas. And we want to work with the lightest colour first in the most open area of the mask. So I'm going to use Highland Heather, and this is a brand new ink pad. I've not used it yet. I want to make sure my blending brush is clean. So I'm just going to check. There is a little bit of ink residue, but not too much. And I'm going to pick up the ink using a circular motion. I'll just move that ink pad so I don't knock my camera stand. Circular motion, just pick it up, and I'm just going to go straight in and blend that ink through, and just keep working. Don't worry about whether it's patchy or blobby. These masks are so forgiving. They're really amazing to use. In fact, I was going to demonstrate something different today, but I've been using these masks towards the end of last week and a little bit over the weekend, and I've just fallen in love with them and I can't stop using them. They're just such fun. So you can see just with one ink of the brush I've got quite a nice concentration of colour, and I find going round and round in circles is easy. You can go across, but round and round in circles is nice and easy. And now we're going to close that ink pad, and I'm going to carefully peel my masking tape. And sometimes it does just stick to your cardstock, which is why I wanted to make it less tacky. And you can see already that looks stunning. we're going to use the second it or rotate it. We simply move it up. So just move it up and then realign over the mask, the already inked. And you just take your time until you see that that's lined up. And what I look for to start with is this circle here, and then I look for those lines on the bigger flowers. I think they're like a ranunculus or a rose perhaps. And I can see tiny bits of white showing, but really I'm not too worried about that. Now I'm not going to bother cleaning this brush off because it had lighter ink, and I'm going to go into a darker ink pad now with rich raspberry. I'm going to again just double check, have I got any areas that might go over the edge. I don't think I'm going to go over these little edges. If you are concerned, I would recommend that you masked them off. So we'll pick some ink up on our blending brush, and then we just go straight in and add that ink over the top of your first shade. And just close that ink pad. And then we will go for the big reveal. Carefully peeling. Yeah, it's really worth just reducing the tack on your, it's a bit vicious, my masking tape. And now we can see that beautiful second colour has really, is really showing. Oh, so I seem to, am I still live? I think I am. Anyway, I'm going to carry on. So, I'm using Granny Apple Green now to add my leaves. And again, I think I'm going to use the shiny side towards me, and I'm going to add some leaves to this project. So I'm going to switch actually brushes, and I'm going to use this one. Let me just clean that off, make sure it's clean, because I have been using a dark colour. Just make sure I've got nothing coming off there, but this is the brush I'm going to use. Now this mask is really clever because we get several different types of leaves. We've got these, I don't know what you'd call them, more ferny type leaf, and then these single pointy leaves. And they're really quite clever. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to start with a pointy leaf, and I'm going to actually use this one, and it has a pointed bottom end. And the reason it has a pointed bottom end is so it can actually fit between these open petals. So that's really quite clever. Now I'm not going to use any masking tape for this one. I'm actually just going to be really, really careful with my brush. I'm just going to add a little bit of ink to the tip of my brush, and I'm just going to angle my brush down and go really carefully with that ink. We can see how that ink just fits, that leaf just fits in the in between the petals. That's what I'm trying to say. Now it looks like I've still got some blue on my blending brush. I haven't quite cleaned it off as carefully as I should have done. I'm just using a microfiber cloth, and you can wash your blending brushes just in plain water because that ink looks a bit dark there. Now the other ones, they've got curves on them, so I'm just going to hold that one there and add these leaves up here. I'm going to be very careful as I go near the edge. I don't want to go over the edge. In fact, as I am using a larger brush, I think I will just mask that edge because we don't want any excess going off. I'm going to turn that round, and I'm going to come back down to the bottom here and line that curve with the edge of the large flower here. I'm going to add some leaves down here. going. And I'll pop a leaf down here. Oh, let's mask that edge there. You can use post-it stickers or masking tape or washi tape. There we are. Let's add a few more of these little pointy leaves. On this flower here, we want to just go in between the petals. So I'll just have a look. Steal a bit of masking tape from the top. I'm just going to continue and just build some more of these leaves. I'll just build those round. And I've just missed the edge of that. Just seem to have gone a little bit away, so I'm going to see if I can correct it. I've not tried this before. I'm not sure if it's possible. But nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I think it worked okay. And let's see where else we can fit one or two in. Let's pop. Now, yesterday I actually used this pointy one, and I did double it up. I added a second leaf. There we go. You can just layer them next to each other, and we'll see if we can fit something in here. Yeah, I think we can fit one in just there. Now I'm really mindful of that corner. I don't want to get any overspill. I'm just going to move my masking tape around, and I can't recommend highly enough that you just take your time to do the same. There we go. So you can see I've added quite a few leaves in there. I think I'll just stop there. Now the next thing I wanted to do, just to add a bit of extra interest, was bring in a stamp. So I'm using some Night of Navy ink, and I've just picked out this little triple flower stamp from the Art in Bloom stamp set, and all I'm going to do is add some Night of Navy, and I'm just going to make sure I've inked that properly. And I think, I'm hoping that you'll agree that just by adding that pop of navy onto this project, it just makes all of the rest of the flowers pop and stand out. Now all that's left for me to do is actually to mount my masked and stenciled image onto my backing cardstock and cut the pennant and pop some holes in, and we can thread it on the banner with the rest. So I'm just going to use wet glue. I'm going to use one that's actually got some glue in the bottle. And I'm just going to put that straight on, and I'm going to show you how I made my pennant shape at the bottom. So I simply measured um, 4 centimetres from the bottom of my pennant, of my banner, and popped a little pencil mark there, and then whether that pencil mark was at about 4.5. I want it to be about 4.5, which is in the middle. So And then I get my big scissors and I just make a cut, lining it up, that pencil mark, to make my pennant base. And if you can still see a pencil mark, of course you can rub that out. And that's how I cut my pennant shape at the bottom. And I'm going to use a single hole punch, and for each one I just lined it up near the edge of the white. And then I'm ready to thread onto my ribbon, and I used Bumblebee Gingham check ribbon from the annual catalogue because I thought that lovely cheerful yellow would be a nice contrast for the rest of the colours in the banner. So it's a really pretty and quite easy. I'll just move them up so that they're close together and we'll just take a look. I'm going to stand up and have a look at that on camera. Yes, that's quite a quick and easy piece of home decor, and I was thinking that this would be quite nice in maybe a dining room, or like me, if you're like me and you're a caravaner, then this might look quite cute in your caravan or in your awning or in your holiday home. And I tried to do, not quite a rainbow, but I tried to do a nice gradual, what's the word, kind of like a rainbow, a nice spectrum of colours. So I started with yellows and worked my way through sort of like a warm peachy tone, pink, red, and then a purpley pink to a proper true purple. And you can see how I've turned the masks around differently for each pennant, so it gives you just a little bit of interest. And that also means that that larger flower goes from top to bottom and you can get that different interest. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing how I've used the large flower. I'm now going to show you a background, how to use the masks for a background on a project. So let's have a look. Let's just move this to one side. So simple to use and such a fabulous image at the end. It's really clever how they've designed these layering masks. I've used masks a lot in the past, but I've never had any that layer up quite so well. So for this next project, I'm going to share with you what I've made in its entirety. Now, I'm not going to make another full set, but I will share with you how I've made this. So I've got one of our Ombre gift bag. Excuse the rattling packet, let's just get rid of that for a start. Now these Ombre gift bags, they come in a pack of 20 actually, and they are the newest in colours. So that's papaya. This one is soft succulent, and you get 5 of each. And fresh freesia, polished pink, and evening evergreen. And you can see I've already used quite a few of these. They're so easy to gift for gifts. Really quick and easy way of producing some packaging. Now I thought, let me show you first of all, and then I'll show you what I'm thinking of doing differently. So I used the gift bag and I created some gussets along the side and made a square and flat bottom just to make the gift bag have some depth and size to it. I've just made a quick and simple set of 6 note cards, so with matching envelopes, because I have these 3-inch envelopes from the annual catalogue, and I've just made 6 little 3x3 cards, decorated the front really quickly, really simply, and I've used this pretty mask from the set. It's like a daisy pattern to create a background. Now they're all slightly different in that Some of them are a bit paler and some of them have gone a bit deeper with the masking technique, and I've just used it very quickly on the envelopes, and I'm going to show you how I did that. Now I'm not sure how much this actually comes across on camera, and when I was just checking it out last night I thought that colour was a bit pale. It's not really coming across that well on camera, so I'm actually going to go for a darker shade for this demonstration, and that will just show you in real life these look really pretty because they're ever so subtle. I'm just going to go a little bit bolder. So there's a set of 6 there, and they fit really nicely into this bag that I've just altered, and I've also stenciled the front, and again I'm not sure that that's coming across too well on camera. And then all I did for the top was punched some shapes. I'm going to share with you today this brand new bow punch, and simply tied a piece of ribbon around the top. Very simple project to make. So I'm going to pop my sample just to one side, and I'm going to share with you that I used just a note from the Flowing Flowers, and I'm going to use the bow punch. I'm going to use the 3-inch envelopes, so I just want a couple of those. Now I'm only going to make a couple of cards. Oh, in fact I've got them here. Have I? Oh no, I'm going to make 3, and I decided to use pale papaya, so I've already pre-cut 3 note card bases, and I've got 3 squares of basic white which I'm going to stencil or use the mask for the background. I'm going to use pale papaya and soft succulent ink, and I've got some scraps of basic white to do some punching with, and I'm going to just keep out 3 of the small envelopes and show you how I use the mask on there. Now I'm going to take another seat and let's get cracking. Now the first thing I'm going to do, because it's quick and easy to do, is I'm going to actually punch some of these beautiful leaves from the bow punch. Now it punches this leaf and this bud stem, and I'm going to use just some scraps of basic white, and I want a bud and a leaf for each card, and then I want some extra ones for the actual front of the envelope. Now what I'm doing here is I'm seeing what I can actually get out of the rest of the script. So that will be rejected, but we'll keep this one, and we'll just go and see what we can actually get out of these scraps that I've just grabbed from my scrap box. A bud. So I've now got enough for 2 cards. I'll just pop that there. I like to try and be frugal and use up my scraps, and now I want just a few. Oh, that's another one. So I've got 1, 2, 3. Yes, I've got 3 cards, and then I just want a couple, 2 or 3 maybe, to decorate the bag. And I will show you how I scored and the bag to make it a bit deeper. So that's all the bits and pieces I need to punch, so I can pop that to one side, and I can pop these bits to one side, ready for decorating the bag. Here we go. So I'm going to use these squares. Now let me come back to my card bases. So I've used pale papaya cardstock, and I've cut 3 pieces 6 inches by 3 inches, and I've scored at 3 inches, and that in centimetres is 15.2 or thereabouts, and I've scored at something like 7.6 and 7.5 wide, 7.5 centimetres wide, and they just fit beautifully in these 3 inch by 3 inch envelopes. Like I said, the envelopes are in the main annual catalogue, and I've then cut 3 pieces of basic white and they're 7.3 centimetres square, or 2 and 12. I don't even know what these little things are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7/8. Yes, I just don't do inches. It doesn't make any sense to this decimal girl here whatsoever. But I know that there are 3" by 3" envelopes, so there you are. So I'm going to use this beautiful daisy background. I'm going to call it stencil mask. I keep calling them stencils. And I'm going to use soft succulent for my masking, for my blending for this project, because I think it will show up much better on camera. So I'm going to just grab my blending brush. This is the one I was just using for green, so I'm going to use my microfiber cloth and give it a really good scooch on there, just to see if I can get all of that excess ink off. Now last week, would you believe it, I washed all of my blending brushes. I gave them a good birthday, washed them, dried them beautifully on the top of the radiator. Oh, and they were gorgeous, all lovely and clean. Then I cracked open these wonderful layering masks, and yes, you've guessed it, they're all full of ink, which is how they should be. They should be being used. So I think I've got all the excess ink from that, and again, I'm just going to, let me just make sure I've got my ink pad on camera. Yeah, I think so. So I've popped my mask over the little piece of basic white. I'm going to then just give it a tilt, and I'm going to pick up some ink on my blending brush. I'm going to hold down the mask firmly with my gently, and I'm not going all over the piece. I'm just sort of doing a small area because I want it to be a subtle background with a faded edge, and I'm hoping that that comes up on the camera. So I'm going to repeat that for all 3 pieces. So pop the mask down, pop my piece of white down, pop the mask down and give it a twist. And that twist means that it doesn't look squared on, because even though there are these dots in between and the flowers, see the long petals, the north and south and east and west, I just wanted them to be on an angle so it just looks a little less regimented or square. So again, I'm holding it down nice and firmly, and I'm just going to go in. I'm not applying a great deal of pressure either. It's just a little bit of a background. Again, they'll all come out very different, well, not very differently, but quite differently, with different amounts of ink. This is quite a loose and free sort of project. There we are. 3 beautifully blended backgrounds with that mask. Now, while I've got the blending brush in my hand and the ink pad is open, I'm now going to use the same mask on the envelopes, and I'm going to open my envelope with the flap. I'm going to then just lay the mask across the top of the across the whole of the envelope. I'm going to pick up some more ink, and I'm going to pop just a little bit of ink on one corner and a little bit of ink across the flap. When I lift it off, I've now got a decorated envelope and a blob of ink on the corner. Do be careful with your fingers and blobs of ink. I think I've just touched the ink pad. It might be that my mask has touched the ink pad, so do be careful if you're picking ink up anywhere. And just lay that mask across the whole envelope. Pick up some ink, hold it down firmly, and just blend a little bit across the flap and a little bit across the corner of the envelope. Just really quickly. And I'm hoping that you'll agree with me that this is quite a quick way of adding some interest to your projects. I'm not taking too much time over this, but it's such fun. I do love these masks. They're so gorgeous. So I can close that ink now, finished with that, I'm just going to pop my blending brush to one side and the mask. And to finish off these notes, really quick and simple, first of all I'm going to just burnish those creases, because I hate it when I'm trying to assemble a card and the card is just constantly popping up. Like this one's laying really nice and flat, so that's a tip, especially if you're going in to stamp a card. You want your cards to lay nice and flat, so I can assemble those. I'm going to just glue the white layer to my card bases, quick and easy. I've just realised that I haven't brought any basic white for the sentiment, so I will just have to lean behind me and get some out of my scrap drawer. Oops. Get that wiggle room. My Tombow glue. I absolutely love these masks. I love that blended background like that. It's just so nice. Of course, the other thing you could do if you blend the background like this with ink is you can still run it through an embossing folder and give it texture as well as ink, as well as colour and pattern. You can add texture, especially if you've got an embossing folder like the oh, what's the really subtle one? Not the subtle one, because that one's retired. Tasteful Textile. That would be a beautiful one to use. Now just excuse me for a second. I'll just grab my scrap drawer, and in my scrap drawer I've got lots of these little skinny bits. In fact, that one would probably be enough. Oh, that's shimmery white. I could probably use that many, that would be grand. Yeah, so just some scraps of white to stamp the sentiment now. So I'm just going to pop those card bases to one side, and we're going to use Just a Note. Now I'm going to just test and see whether to stamp the sentiment in Pale Papaya or whether I should go back to Soft Succulent. I've not tried this, so let's have a look. So does that stand out? I think that stands out quite nicely actually. So I think I'll go ahead and stamp just 3 sentiments, Just a Note. I'm trying to stamp the sentiment near the bottom, so I've got a bit of white at the top I can trim down a bit. I want my sentiment to be quite thin, so I'm going to use my big scissors again. Now I always use my big scissors. I was really sad when Stampin' Up retired our big scissors, because I did used to use them a lot, and so I'm going to chop that on an angle and just trim a bit off there, trim a little bit off the bottom. Oops. That's fine. I'll do the other two. So I always like a little bit of an angle, and have that side square. Of course you could go straight there, but I don't know, a little bit of an angle just makes it interesting. You could crack out your die cutting machine if you've got a die cutting machine and a die that would cut that sentiment. I'll just get rid of these scraps out of the way, and I'm just cutting these off really quickly. And the a little tip I'll give you, because we're going to pop the leaves behind, is I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on each end and none in the middle, and just as I stick down the sentiment, I'm just going to sort of move my fingers towards each other, so it kind of just bows the sentiment ever so slightly in the middle. And if you just hold it for a few seconds and let the glue set, what that gives you is a little gap that you can slide the leaves behind, and that just makes it easy for when we're sticking them on. So I'm going to go ahead and do all three like that. So just a dot of glue at each end. So I don't want to use dimensionals on these, it's just a set of thank you notelets or gift cards. And just that couple of seconds just to let the glue set with the heat of your finger just helps. Now, I was a bit dubious about using pale papaya for the sentiment. I thought it would look better with the background pale and the sentiment darker, but I think that that's worked really nicely. Quite pleased with that. And I wanted you to be able to see on camera that blended masked background. So I'm going to now just pop a bit of glue on a couple of these leaves, but not on all of them. Now I'm going to remember that this leaf has no glue, so I can get hold of it. Just pop that behind and press that leaf down to set, and we'll find one of the little buds, and I might just pop a bit of glue on that leaf, on that bud and that bud. Then I've got one to hold on to with no glue, and slide that in and give that a press. And that's, let me just hold that up to camera, let's see if that's coming over. I think that looks okay, looks pretty. And we'll just finish these two, then I can move on and show you how I did the bag. And then I'm going to review how YouTube Live has gone. After just experiencing some changes with Facebook Live and how it actually works over the last couple of weeks, I've not been too happy. So I thought I would use my YouTube channel. And we'll just see. So that's 3 notelets. Now I would make a pack of 6 of these, but just to save time on air today, we've just done 3. Now I'm going to choose the Pale Papaya gift bag. I'm just going to move a few pieces of things out of the way and give myself a bit of room here. And I'm going to show you, bring in my trimmer. So you can use a trimmer or a scoreboard, because all we're going to do is score at the moment. And I'm not sure how much, oops, you can see on this camera. I might just go up a little bit, just bear with a bit of wobble. Zoom out with my stand. There we go. So we can see a little bit more of the trimmer perhaps. So I'm actually going to score 2 centimetres down each side and 2 centimetres at the bottom. So I'm going to move my cutting out of the way, and it doesn't matter which side the bag. So 2 centimetres on either side. I'm using this line here as a guide because I've got this crinkly edge at the top. And then I want 2 centimetres at the bottom. And we can move that out of the way. And then what I'm going to do is just burnish those creases back and forth. And then I'm going to put my hand inside the bag, and I'm going to press down the bottom that I've just created, pinching these corners. So you can see I pinch those corners, pull them up like little ears, and I'm going to just put some glue, and I'm going to use Stampin' Seal just on the inside of those corners. There's a bit on there, a little bit on there. And I'm going to put my hand back inside the bag and press those little corners down, and that makes you a 3-dimensional bag instead of a flat 2-dimensional bag. Now the other thing you can do is using your fingers just to press those side gussets in. Now if you wanted to make your bag fold in all the way, you would have to put another crease at the bottom to fold this bottom square, bottom flat, but I wanted my bag just to stand upright so that it's large enough for me to pop my note cards with envelopes inside. So I'll go ahead and do that now, just drop them in there. And then I wanted to just press, once the cards are inside, press the bag into the side, turn it over and fold back that top. So I've now got a nice little bag that will stand with the note cards inside, and I'm going to use a bit of, I can use some soft succulent ribbon for contrast, or I can use some pale papaya ribbon to match, and I'm going to just decorate it with the leaves. Oh, I did say I was going to actually use the mask as well, so let's use the mask and show you how, which is the purpose of the demonstration. Actually, we'll just, before we stick down the bottom, lay our bag flat, and we will use the mask. And again, I'm going to just turn it slightly to one side on an angle, and I'm going to use the soft succulent, get my blending brush, and I'm just going to blend and we'll see, we've got that nice pretty design like so to decorate the bag. So let's just quickly reassemble that, and then we'll add our leaves to decorate the top of the bag. So once again, just pinch those triangles, pop them down, and you can use a bone folder or your fingers inside the bag just to put pressure on that. There we go. There we go. It's stuck down. Pop our cards back in. And we'll just fold that tab over. And what I did with my leaves was I actually just layered them up and flipped them over so that they were slightly different shape, and I just put a little blob of Tombow on each one as I layered them up. Obviously be careful of your sticky fingers, but just a tiny blob is all that's required, and just kind of offset them a bit. Just layer them up. And you can add the little buds if you want to as well. And you get the idea, you've got a nice little sort of bunch of leaves, and you can trim off some of the excess stems. like so, and use a glue dot to attach that bunch to the top of the gift bag. That's decoration number 1, and then decoration number 2, I think I will go with soft succulent just for a bit of contrast. Just get my fabric scissors, and we'll just tie a bow round. It should just finish off that little gift, and these are really lovely to give us quick gifts for somebody for no other reason than it's nice to give a gift. So that just finishes off that bag. In fact, I can slide that ribbon up, just pop that flap down. I've not folded this flap as far as the other one on the other bag. And if you did feel you needed to anchor that a bit more, you could pop a little bit of tape glue at the back, and that would just help. That's a really simple gift. You could obviously, of course, you could bling this up much more. You could add sequins, rhinestones, any other kind of bling and accessories that you've got. I've got some of those really beautiful brushed brass butterflies here. We could add 1 or 2 of those to the bag and to the actual note cards, and I think that they would look really pretty as well. So I hope you've enjoyed those couple of projects and learned how to use the layering masks and just how versatile those masks actually are. So let's just bring in the pennant again. So that's the pennant, 1 or 2 of the pieces of pennant. So you can see I've really used the layering of the masks here. Oh, thank you, Sylvia. Yeah, you can see I've really used the layering of the masks for this project, and yet for this project couldn't be simpler, just using one of the single masks for that background, just adding a bit of a subtle background. And remember that you can also use the texture paste if you want to. Don't forget that the texture paste, there's so much I could demonstrate with these masks, it's absolutely unbelievable. The texture paste can also be coloured using our ink refill bottles. You just add 1 or 2 drops to some of the texture paste and you get colours. You can sponge or blend ink over the top. So let's just show you that really quickly. I'll just grab a dauber. And as I've got some, let's just use Night of Navy just for the contrast. So if I use Night of Navy and a sponge dauber, you can actually sponge ink over the top. So you can go further, you can actually add extra colour on top of the texture, on top of the coloured cardstock behind. So versatile, so many different things that you can actually make using these masks. I can really recommend that you add them to your stash of crafting products and tools in your craft room. So there you go, and I think that that is the end of this demonstration. So thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you for joining me on YouTube live. I'm just going to switch the camera back round, see if I can still work this. I might have to just lower it down a bit, and that's it. Let's flick that round and I will just take a quick seat. So that's a first for me, using YouTube live, so let's hope that that's worked well. And thank you, Sylvia, for watching and dropping some comments, because that's just helped me enormously, knowing that YouTube live works as well. I just need to manage to migrate some of my other regular watchers across to YouTube. But thank you very much for watching, and oh, that's good feedback. That's good to know that YouTube's definitely better, so that's it, we'll stick with YouTube. Let's just do some training courses for my other regular watchers and we'll get them over here on YouTube. And of course this live stream, hopefully if I can work the tech, will be saved to watch on replay as well. But thank you ever so much for watching. Don't forget, you can shop with me at any time of day or night on my online store. And if you have enjoyed today, then please give me a thumbs up. That really helps with the whatever algorithms are, but apparently it really helps with attracting new viewers. If you have enjoyed watching on replay and you're not already subscribed, then please click the link to subscribe, and you'll notice a little bell symbol next to the subscribe button. If you click that little bell symbol, that will ensure that you get notifications of when I go live, or indeed I upload a new video. The notifications can be turned off at any time if you find them intrusive, but they are really helpful in letting you know when I'm live. So thanks once again. Most importantly, after all of those instructions of thumbs up and liking and subscribing, what I want you to do most of all is keep creating and keep sharing your creations with me by message, or if you aren't already on my group for every crafter, the Crafty Beehive, then please hop to my Facebook page and find out where that group is. Join the group, share your makes. Thanks again. Bye bye for now.